Okay, today I thought I would do something a little different. I would go back to get away from the sci-fi for a day and get back to my roots of historical wargaming. Um, and this is one of the projects that I have. Most of the projects that I create or that I make, I have to paint both sides. I have to do the British and the Russians for Napoleonics, like Borodino. I do, the Emperor's Children and the Blood Angels. I do the protagonists and the antagonists for almost every project, except for this one. This is the only one that I haven't done that for. And this was a project that myself and my friend David decided to do. We'd get into it together, and we'd paint it together, we'd collect it together. And that's kind of the thing that I wish that I could do more often, like paint, buy, for instance, like if you're into Flames of War, which I'm not anymore, but I'd like to just buy a British army, paint it, assemble it, paint it, bring it down to the club, play a game against someone's Germans, someone's Russians, whatever, go home, go to bed, have a great time. Where I am, and the age that I am, and the social network that I have, I'm forced to create both of those and sort of make believe the club in my basement. Um, but this was the one project that I haven't done that for, and mainly for two reasons. The first reason is that my friend David, he really loves Trafalgar and Nelson and the naval Age of Sail battles. So he wanted to collect this game. It's Black Seas from Warlord Games. He wanted to collect this game, and he wanted to either play the rules Black Seas themselves or play a different set of rule sets, but with the Warlord Games plastic ships. Now, I've never in my life, these are the first Age of Sail ships I've ever painted. And have you ever had one of those projects that sits in your display cabinet and you're really proud of it and it looks great and you're like, yeah, that was that came out really good. But the entire time you were painting it and hobbying it was just like waxing the hair off your chest. It was just so painful that you wish you could be done with it. You wish you never bought it. This was that project for me. Now, when I say I wish I never bought it, that's disingenuous, because I do like the game. There's some really good YouTube videos out there, battle reports that I really enjoyed listening to while I was painting it. And the painting of the ships themselves, like the hull and their decking, wasn't super critical, but it's one of those eras that if you and a friend decide, like, hey, I'm going to do British and you're going to do French and Spanish, we're going to refight the Battle of Trafalgar or certain portions of it or whatever, is that some friends won't care if you've painted the ship incorrectly. Other friends will be like, whoa, why did you paint him that color? That's not the color he's supposed to be. That when you get into Napoleonic gaming, I find that that's where the level is. The level is you either know the information or you don't. And me, I have books and I can look up on the internet colors for different battalions when it comes to the Napoleonic infantry and the cavalry, and I can do that kind of research, and it's a lot of research, but it's fun too. But for naval gaming, looking up the hull colors for ships in this time period was just such a task. No two sources were the same. Essentially what it came down to is here's a basic color scheme and just go with it. So what I did here for this project is I have the French and Spanish, well, French with one Spanish right there. And my friend David is going to do the British, the Victory and all the British ships. So what I have here is I have my collection of ships, and I have way more than this, just unassembled. And I'll get to that in a second of why that is. You probably already know, though. I have two battleships, or what are they called in this team? Well, two big ships, first rate. They're called first rate ships. Two first rate. I have the Santisima Trinidad right there, and I have the Lorient right there. Those were the two ships that came in the released in like the French naval. No, sorry, that ship was released in the French naval pack, and that ship came on its own. I've got I have two third rates. I've got two frigates and four. What are these things called? Sloops, brigs. See, that's the extent of my knowledge on this time period. And I really enjoyed the idea of painting these and having them on the table, but It was such a slog, man. It wasn't just painting the miniatures. That was kind of like difficult enough, but I've painted a lot of miniatures. I know what I'm doing. I know how to get through it. I know to block the colors. All that stuff that you normally do with painting. But then there was the rigging and the sails and oh man, the rigging was such a pain in the butt. I can't even tell you. If you've, oh, you look on YouTube for tutorials to do it, and you get some good ones, but they've done it 1,000 times, and you're doing it for the first, second, third, fourth time. So I did manage to do all the rigging for these ships, very basic rigging, nothing special. And once I had done, I had planned to do this force here first, and then do another force of another few third rates, some more brigs. I expected to basically double this with a few more Spanish smaller ships in it. And that was the plan going into it. And when I was painting the ships, assembling the ships, that was the plan. When I was painting the ships, that was the plan. When I was rigging the ships, that plan fell apart. And once I got these done, I figured, hey, if we're ever playing Black Seas, you're probably not going to use this many ships in that game. It's more of a 3 to 7 or 3 to 6 ship rule set at most. I think maybe 10, and that would be a real slog. So this is enough. I'll stop here. I'm not going to assemble the rest of them. And I feel bad because I've got $100 worth of models behind me that I'm probably not going to sell, not going to paint. It's not like when you're doing an American Civil War force, you paint a whole bunch of 50mm figures or 10mm figures, and then you leave a bag of 100 in the closet. Well, one day I'll get to those. I just want to move on to something else. Now, this is like I have $100 worth of plastic figures for ships on the shelf, and I know I'm not getting to them. Unless something really changes, I don't see how I'd ever get back to that. But this is my force. It's based off the 1805 campaign. It's the French Allied Spanish fleet. It's got the Centisma. I'll get down and I'll show you the little ships up close. But yeah, never actually got to play a game against my friend David. COVID happened, and we just couldn't visit. He has a lot of health issues. He's older than me, and he has his wife is very frail. So once the threat of COVID even happened, before any of the lockdown even happened, he said, "Hey, everybody, get the hell out of my house. Don't come back until I tell you." Hey, that's no problem. I understand. So we haven't gotten down. I don't even know if he's even painted his ships yet. I haven't gone around to asking him. But I painted my portion of it, and maybe one day I'll get to see his. But I can't do any battle reports with this force because I would love to, because they're all from the same faction. I might be able to do the Santisima Trinidad against a few French ships, but until I paint a few more Spanish ships, which who knows when that'll ever be, this is what it is. Anyway, I've waffled on for a while, and we'll get down and I'll show you the ships in a little better detail. So this is the brig. There's 4 of these. Hopefully that you can see that correctly. Doing the planking, painting that like the planking and the decking. The decking was okay. The gun carriages were a pain in the butt because they're like a wine color. The planking was bad. Putting these little sails on here was a pain in the butt. Like, oh my god. The sails that go on this way here, no problem. These sails here, oh geez. I put the hilariously comically big anchors on these ships, but I didn't do it for every ship because they just looked too hilarious. But that's the brig. I have 4 of them. There's one. These aren't named. I don't feel like naming my ships unless there's a reason. If I was going to name a ship, it'd be the Indefatigable from the Horatio Hornblower series or something like that. But I don't know my French ships or Spanish ships enough to name them. I do have, I believe, some of them have the special backing. So we'll go to the frigates next. Now, these frigates did not come in the starter set that I bought. These frigates came in the Wargames Illustrated magazine. When it released, you could get a Wargames Illustrated magazine, and it either had a frigate on it, or it had with it, or it had 2 brigs. And luckily for me, my wife found me 2 frigates and 2 brigs. So me and my friend David, we split them. He took the brigs, I took the frigates. He had already sort of ordered frigates for himself, so he didn't want any more. I took the frigates, I painted them up, and this is what I came up with. They do have the, because they were plastic, I did put the anchors on there. Now my cat is patrolling the area. I would dearly love to get him a Napoleon hat, because he's staring at me right now like I'm taking up his table space with this ridiculous hobby. Whoa, hey, it's saved. Sorry about that. So yeah, here is again, these were very hard to put on. These plastic things weren't so hard to put on, but they were hard to cut out. So there's a lot of messy glue work. You'll see probably later in a couple of ships. But there's the 2 frigates. There's 1, 2. Again, they look really nice. Like, if you've ever played this game or seen it, it does look nice. I can't, it's in my display cabinet for a reason. It's I have like room for 12 armies in my display cabinets. It takes up one of those slots just because it looks like the real deal. And when people come over and they come in, that's a joke. No one comes over. When my wife comes downstairs and sees my cabinets, she always is impressed by the tall ships. But we don't play with them. Here is the 2 third rates that I have. Now, if you've clicked on this video, you might already know Black Seas, but they're substantially chunkier than the frigates. Here's the 2 third rates that I have. There's 2 of them. This one here is just a bog standard one. Really nice, actually. It's a beautiful model. Like, it's an amazing, those, you see the bad glue work there. But, Warlord games, a lot can be said for a lot of stuff about Warlord games, but I enjoy them as a company. Not a fan of the pricing, but they do make stuff that I want. So it's not as if I have something to complain about. Here's the next one. And this one here, I put on a special bow piece and a back plate. So this is the Bucentaure? Bucentier? I don't know. Bucentaure or something. This was one of the, maybe the capital ship in one of the battles. That's what my friend David said. So I put the nameplate on there, and that nameplate was just a beast to put on. It doesn't even fit the model. I'm not sure what they were thinking there, but it hangs down over it. But I'm not a pro modeler. I'm not a pro modeler, so that's as good as I could get. And once I got to this state, I'm like, that's it. I just dust my hands and I leave it. This is the French first rate. Did a little bit different things here. I just made the gun port doors when they're open red. No other reason than just to make it look a little cooler. It's not a named ship, but it is a resin hull, so it's a lot heavier. The sails are a lot easier to get on the bigger ships because you have a lot more room to work with. But you can see here my, what's this called? My rigging. I was getting tired of rigging at this point, and I didn't have the proper tension. Now, these ships are great except for one flaw, and that is the sails on the plastic ships. These are all plastic, 100% plastic. They're decent. Like, I mean, the masts in the middle here. But on the resin ships, they're metal, and they come so warped, and it was such a nightmare. Like, I'm hoping maybe you can get across in how I'm talking, but it was such a nightmare to straighten these masts. And they're not even straight. And then to rig them. And when you rig a metal mast, or is it not metal, it's like lead, it's not lead, but it's something, it's soft metal. When you rig it, and you're putting tension on it, you bend it again. It was just getting it to stick into the hole that it was made was another pain in the butt. Here comes my little cat. No, he's moving off. Good. Crisis averted. Anyway, lovely model. Tough to paint. And tough to get the masts and the rigging done on the bigger ships because they're resin and metal versus plastic. But I mean, I still have the Lorient here. Maybe I'll zoom out here a little bit. I still have the Lorient pack. He's unopened. I thought that was him, but no, I still have him. Haven't even touched him. So one day maybe I don't know. I keep saying one day maybe I'll get to him because he's such a beautiful looking model and it's so iconic, but I don't know. Anyway, back to the last ship here. So that was the French first rate. Now we move on to the ship that I had to have, and that was the biggest ship at the time in the world, I think. It was the Santísima Trinidad, and I just wanted to paint it just to have it on my shelf. Now, one day I will get bases for these, like really nice bases, but I haven't done that just yet. And this ship in particular, like even the French first-rate ship, there's a lot of time put into a single model, which I'm not used to. I'm used to churning out models. Like, for instance, I can paint these Confederates. I can paint them in maybe 15, 20 minutes if I'm on my game, if I have everything laid out in front of me properly. This ship alone took 2 weeks to paint for one model, and that's unheard of for me. I can paint a Titan for Adeptus Titanicus in about 3 days, 4 days, start to finish, basing and all. So this was a chore to get this guy churned out. I didn't even bother trying to do anything special with the flag. I was just, by this time, the rigging and the flag was just like, just get on there. Just get on there and get in the cabinet and leave me alone. But it worked out pretty nice. Pretty poor, painting those window panes. Oh, I'm having PTSD from from looking at these models. But anyway, that is my fleet for Black Seas. I'll just change the camera here so you can see them, get them all in shot again. Not that it really matters, but one of the things I'm most proud of in my cabinets, but one of the things that, as you can probably tell, I hope never to have to do again. If I meet David and he's gotten his stuff done like he promised, and we get a game in, maybe I'll change my tune, I'll get back into it, but until I start playing with these models, they're just going to go get relegated to my painting, or my display case, and that'll be the last I'll ever see them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the kind comments on my previous videos. Really humbling. And I hope to see you all again soon, and bye for now.